Welcome to the Intuitive Empire podcast, the place for coaches, healers, network marketers, and awakened souls who are all about creating success on their own terms. We are here to rise, and in doing so, we must honor our sensitive selves, activate our intuition, and lead with light. We are the ones we've been waiting for, the change makers, wayseers, and trailblazers. Join me, Jaya Rose, as we step fully into luminous leadership and create epic, intuitive empires that serve the highest good of all. Ready? Let's go. Hello, and welcome back to the Intuitive Empire podcast. I'm really excited today because we're going to dive into some really juicy stuff around how you put yourself out there in the world. And I know I'm always talking about the internal flow of this, but we're going to talk with Miss Tiffany, who I met. She was a fellow speaker at an event in Portland, the Together event. And here's what I like about her. You'll see, but she's like very curious. So you know how you meet some people and you're like, oh, I could talk to them. Like I kind of want to unload my whole life story on her. She's very present, very curious, but also takes up her own queen space. Like I just see her as such a queen. So Tiffany, do you think that's accurate?
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've actually never heard it described like that, but I love the way you interpreted that because I am very curious.
Yeah, you are. I feel like
Thank-
when we first met at that dinner party,
Mhm.
you were like, just kept asking me questions. And I'm like, oh, honey, I like you. No, but you know how most people are just pretty damn self-absorbed.
Well, I think that it's an introvert trick that I learned is just to keep a
Mm,
conversation going, to ask a lot of questions, but also, when you can connect with someone on more of a personal level, you establish, a lot of trust. And I like
yeah.
building friendships around entrepreneurship, especially between women.
Mm,
So asking questions and finding out about, the secrets to success or just life in general. We connected about having a daughter
mhm.
young. So, you find things out that you wouldn't necessarily find out just talking about yourself all day.
Well, that yes, it's exactly. But I do think it's a skill. So I think that's an interesting point. I think a lot of people who listen to this show are highly sensitive and could probably relate to being, um, what was the word you just used? Oh, not introverted. No, yes, introverted, not
Yeah.
extroverted. I personally am an ambivert. Do you relate to that? It's
No,
the
I don't even know what that
Okay,
is.
so ambivert is both, where
Mm,
I say I'm a charming introvert,
okay.
basically, right? I'm totally social and and I feel you're the same way, where
Hmm.
it's like you can be social and be with people. It's not like you're awkward,
Right.
um,
Right.
but yet you got to go home to recharge because that could be draining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. The quiet
that
time.
right, like you're good with people but need to recharge alone. That's an ambivert.
That's what I am.
Yeah, that's so good to know. So you were up here in Portland and speaking, and at the time you were speaking, I mean, you came to speak about branding, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And you gave a really good talk. And I just want to point out something, and I've never told you this really.
Okay.
Okay. I am obsessed with what you did at the end of your talk. So just for everybody listening, she gave this amazing talk about branding and she gave us her spark method of how
Hmm.
to really get your messaging right and all of the beautiful parts about brand, like the internal parts of branding. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But then at the end, you got so fired up about women stepping into their worth and making money
Hmm.
and doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
So like, I want to know about that. I want to know about that for you.
I'm just extremely passionate about people living the life that they've always dreamed of. The way my journey kind of started off, I wasn't really inspired by anything. Like I didn't wake up with a passion. I woke up to go to a job that I really didn't like. And when I found, or rather God pointed out to me what my strong suit was, what my passion was, I got really fired up. And so I began like digging and digging into this creative entrepreneurship um, journey. And I found women who were like, this is what I charge. These are the benefits that you're going to get. And that's it, point blank, period. And when I was starting off, it was always the barter thing. Like, you do this for me and I'll do that for you and all kind of stuff. And it really takes away at some point. I don't
Mm,
want to say
mhm,
bartering is not good, but at some point when you've really pulled out your skill set and the benefits that you offer to someone, um, bartering just doesn't fill you up anymore.
mhm.
You
Yeah.
feel underappreciated. You don't feel, whatever someone promises to you, in my experience, it doesn't feel like enough, right? And so a lot of women undercharge themselves because of that, because they don't feel like they deserve X amount of money.
Mhm,
And my relationship with money was not good at all in the way that I viewed my worth. And what I've just come to realize is that money is a tool to help us, live the best life that we want to live. Do I need money to live the best life? Internally, no. But I cannot lie to myself and say that paying my rent is not
yeah.
satisfying. You know what I
Yeah, yeah.
mean? Purchasing things that make me feel good on the inside while it doesn't define me, I need money to do that. And so I'm not operating like a used car salesman, as I like to say to my clients. And neither are they. I'm not charging you X amount of dollars for you to purchase, quote unquote, a lemon. I'm offering you a high value for a high exchange for you to
Mhm,
see really high benefits and results in your business. So I'm just really, really fired up because women, we're
mhm,
just so emotional about money sometimes. It's just like, you
mhm,
know what? This is the price. This is what I'm going to give you. And you're going to
mhm.
be happy at the end of it.
Mm. I love that so much. And have you found that I'm sure you've raised your prices over time, yes?
Yes.
How much? Like twice as much?
Well, since I started my business, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God. Well, when I first started, I was only doing logos. I didn't want to do websites. And I think maybe I was charging like $600 for a logo.
Okay.
And so now that I do websites and branding, I also do strategy and marketing. Now the packages are up, upwards of 10,000 plus dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, 600 to 10,000, that's a good jump. Um,
But it's with experience and you know what I mean, with
right. And it's a
track
different,
records and results and things like that.
of course, and that's
Yeah.
totally different than just getting a logo. Logo is
Right.
not going to do much for you, in terms of building your brand.
Mhm.
So, in that, have you seen that the women you work with women mainly?
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
the women who come in are just actually ready to do the work.
So I think that the women that I'm attracting right now, they realize that they have a product, a viable product. They've made money before, right? And they're just ready to come into the real abundance of what they have to offer, if that makes any
Mm.
sense. I
Mhm.
think that the women that I work with, they understand the value of investing in themselves and their business. And what they like about what I have to offer is not only the feminine aspect of, building a brand and being able to connect emotionally with them, but also like, I don't play around. I am just in it just as much as my clients, and I want to see the results, and I push them to give me things and to work harder for their businesses. Like, this is not just a Tiffany does it all for you plan. Yeah, I'm going to
Mm.
guide you through it, but there's so much that my clients have to realize that they have that I can't do to push their businesses and their brands forward.
Mm.
So they're really ready to open up another space in their lives and to really get serious about how they're promoting and showing up online.
Mhm. Well, and isn't it such an amazing way to get serious to invest?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
you, you when you charge what the benefits are worth, obviously, like what the transformation is worth, then
Right.
the transformation is actually worth more. Right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
it's all about how much you show up for it. And what I sell is transformation. Like it doesn't have a physical component to it like yours does. So it's like, well, you either show up and do the work or nothing. Like
Exactly.
nothing's gonna happen, not even
Exactly.
just like not as good of a thing.
Hmm.
So I've seen that over and over again as well. And what do you feel like you've needed to do? Okay, what's come with you or parallel to you raising that? Like to you raising the vibe or you raising your prices, what's risen in you?
I think what's risen in me, and you may found this to be an oxymoron, but I realize I'm still not charging enough.
Mm,
because I realize the value when I really get in there and dig into the brand. And because graphic designers sometimes hang out with other graphic designers. We exchange ideas and,
mm,
we
mhm,
just can talk really openly about our circumstances that no one else can really understand. And so when I see or talk to other professionals and I hear what they charge too and don't offer half of what I do, I'm like, damn, Tiffany, why are you still
mm,
undervaluing yourself? Are you
mm,
afraid? That whole money thing, have you not moved on from your money story, or do you need to develop another money
mm,
story for yourself? But also, charging that amount of money is something that I never ever thought that I didn't the thought didn't even come up in my head at all.
mm, mhm,
3 years ago when I started the business, charging, I was looking to make $2,500 a month.
mhm, mhm.
And now I'm like, well, how are we reaching 45 a month? And that number, it means nothing to my worth. No one could ever pay me what I'm really worth.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to have the space to say, you know what, I'm operating in my passion and I'm getting paid, that's something that a lot of people do never get to touch in a
Mm,
lifetime. A lot of
mhm,
people. And I think that what I've gone through is not just for me. It's for my daughter to see. It's for
mhm,
even my mother and my sister, cousins to see, that you really can go out and charge what you want to, do what you want to do. And when you put it in God's hands, it just develops and grows.
mm. So you really had to do something to go from saying, well, 3 years ago, $2,500 was like good enough. And now you're
Hmm.
saying, no, I'm going for 500,000 or for $1 million business. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I think that your circle that you're around, changing the people that I was around and I was talking to was something that I did. I changed. Because you don't, when you're the, what is it, that you're smart, if you're the smartest
Mm.
person in your circle, you need to change circles.
Mhm.
And I think that I really up leveled in just who I was talking to, what their goals and ambitions were. And so that made me want to work harder as well. And I think all of that money story work happens so much internally. And that's where the real work is, like you do with your clients.
Mhm. Mhm. So shifting just how you felt about even receiving that kind of work or what it means about
Absolutely.
you. Something I notice is that every time I up level, I have to
Hmm.
do this whole reassessment of like, well, who does this make me in the world? Like this whole
Yes.
identity, I wouldn't call it an identity crisis, but it's like a whole opportunity to redefine my identity. And I
Yeah,
think that,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
well, who is the Tiffany who is open to receiving this, who's open to standing in all of herself? Because you have
Right.
to give more of yourself.
Absolutely. I think the same happens when I work with my branding clients. It's just like you're no longer going to be this business that had this ineffective website. You are going to
Mm,
show up in the world a lot differently, and people are going to look at you differently because
mm,
you decided to invest in yourself. And,
yeah.
people may be jealous and that may come off, in a certain way. People may not want to see you do good, or you may get a ton of positive feedback that may blow up your head. You
Mhm,
have to stay grounded, as you're saying, in this new person and accept that there's nothing wrong with developing. There's nothing wrong with changing and up leveling. Um, at least that's what I try to, tell my clients when we're going through the whole process.
mhm. No, it's so true. That makes sense. It is like an identity crisis kind of for them. They're like, who, this is who I was. And
Right.
you're right. The way that you show yourself in the world is going to give someone an entirely different like vibe of who you are or idea of
Exactly.
who you are. So
Exactly.
will you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like that's kind of the core of what you do, right? It's like you help people show up more effectively and in more authority and more alignment with really who they are and what they have to offer the world. Is that right?
Absolutely. More specifically in their business, because I think there is a separation between who runs the business and what the business is. I take care of what the business is and try
Mm,
to support my clients on the back end of making sure that they feel supported in my process. Um, but I think that when we're talking about a transformation, how can I explain this? It's not therapeutic, but when you're trying to show up in the world as an authority, we're going to step into that, right? We're going to pull
Mhm.
out the benefits. We're going to pull out, why, who you're serving, what purpose they're going to have, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really important for women who are trying to go about it, whether they're new in entrepreneurship or they're just, they're going to rebrand. It's important for you to have that position right off the bat.
Mm.
Because if you work with someone and you're not truthful about what you want to do, where you want to go, who you want to be, and really be that person, then how can I effectively help you? That's why every time I start a project, I start off with a strategy call. And I
Mhm.
get into the business, but also like, how do you want to be an authority? Do you want to be
Mm.
an expert? If you want to be an expert, you're going to have to tell people how to do things. You're going to have to give up your trade secrets. You cannot
Mm.
hold those hostage.
Mm.
And a
Mhm.
lot of women don't realize that. And there's so much space out here. Like everything has been done. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it has been in some way, shape, or form. So
Yep.
we're not, it's just about reinventing the wheel and making it your own.
Mhm. Mhm.
So why do we want to hold things so closely to us so that no one knows what we do? They don't know
Mhm.
that we're an expert because we're not showing them that we're experts.
I love what you just said about how we need to tell people things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to tell, and we need to like tell people what to do. I think that has been my biggest resistance
Mm.
in content where I show up and I show up pretty big online. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like shy at all, but at the same time, the hardest thing for me has been to actually tell someone what to do. Not because I don't want to give away my content, but because I don't want to be
Right.
bossy or I
Right.
don't want them to be offended or all this stuff. But I feel like what permission do you give people to actually show up in that authority?
I remind them of the goals that we talked about during that strategy call.
Mm,
I think that because you're excited about the branding process, so you want to unload, like you want to brain dump on me and you want to tell me all the things like right at the start.
mm,
As the process goes on, I can try as hard as I can, and I think I do successfully to empower my clients and make them feel better. But if they give me some resistance, we just go back to the foundational collateral that I created for them, whether it was in their strategy call or who they're targeting as an audience demographic, and say, look, to get to this result, we need to stay the course and do X. We
mm,
can copy is such a great thing that we have. You don't have to say, download my freebie now. You know what I mean?
mm,
We can soften it up and make it your voice because this is your business. But if we don't ask those hard questions, if we don't put in really clear call to actions, because the
mhm,
thing about it is people do not have a lot of time these days.
mhm,
They're so bombarded with messages and, their kids, their husband, their whatever, that we have to be as clear as we possibly can. It may come off as bossy, but if your audience is receiving that in such that way, you don't want to work with them anyway.
mhm,
Because someone who reads your call to action and is drawn to it, that's where the copy, the marketing, the branding, the everything that you've been doing is going to yield those results that you want.
mhm. Right. It's like asking for the step is also could be looked at as offering the step. Like if you don't offer
Absolutely.
someone the step, how are they going to get what you have?
You won't get the sale if you don't ask.
Mhm. It's so true. It's so good. What do you have any like just basic insight on brand building, but also like brand awareness for women who maybe they already have a website, but they want to up level or they want to do what you help them do, which is like totally rebrand, right? Like they want to
Mhm.
put themselves out there in a new way. What do you feel like someone needs to do to get ready to do that?
I think they have to make sure that their definition of up level is their own. Up level is something that's thrown around so much in the creative industry.
Mm,
And I sat back and I was like, what does up level really mean? Like
mhm,
it's so personal. So defining what up leveling means to them and making sure that that is actually what they want to go for. Because if you say, I want to make $1 million in my business, and then you take that back and then you tell your strategist or you move forward in whatever you're doing, only at the level that will potentially bring you in $500,000, you're not being honest with yourself, and you're not going to be happy. Be
Mm,
honest with what up leveling means to you. And then in terms of creating a strategy around that to put yourself out there more or to get more eyes on your brand, focus on what is going to benefit your client.
mm-hmm,
Every day, everyone wakes up with a self-imposed hero complex. Like, it's all about us all the time, no matter how much someone tells you that it's not. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? Whether or
Yeah.
not, it's about what's going on with my business or what's going on with my kids or my husband. It's always about them in some way, shape, or form, right? And so
Mm-hmm,
us as business owners, we have to realize that our clients, we're serving them. We're in the service business. Like, those are our bosses. So to make them happy, to make them feel comfortable, you have to appeal to what they want to benefit their lives. You have to be the guide and not the hero. And I learned this through Brand Story by Donald Miller. And he says that you have to be the guide that gets them from point A to point B. For
mm-hmm,
me, it's from an ineffective website that's not making them the amount of money that they want to a very effective converting website that they can have for the next 2-3 years, that will help them reach their goals and get the results that they want. So
mm-hmm,
I can't make it all about me. So
mm-hmm.
after you affirm what leveling up means for you, I think that defining your benefits and being the guide for your audience should be the next step to increasing brand awareness.
I love that. And I think that's like the reason I love online business, honestly, what you just said.
Hmm.
My favorite part about my business is, okay, no, I mean, I do love serving my clients, but I love creating free content. Like, I love doing live trainings. I love that my advertising is beneficial to people because it's content. It's literally valuable content, and I've had people have transformation just from my free stuff.
Right.
And I think that's where it can be like that shift can happen where it's like it's
Hmm.
not weird to talk about your business. It's not salesy. You're not being rude or selfish. It's actually when it's done in the form of valuable content.
Right.
Amazing. Like it's
Right.
and how many people's free content, like you're talking about Brand Story, that podcast, which by the way, I'm going to start listening to it, you guys, and Tiffany
Yeah,
recommends it.
it's
So
really great.
cool. We're going to check it out. But it's like even that where that's just all free content. And I'm sure he leads to something.
Yes, he does, always. And that's the only caveat I have about creating free content, to make sure that it's collecting data for the back end of businesses, because we do want to, um, provide all the things and be everything to everyone and, cause transformation. But we also need to be smart businesswomen and learn how to authentically funnel people into something that that we can then transform them on another level and give them the invitation, just like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
asking for the sale. Not always, 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 like, hey, 5 coaching spots left. Oh, 4 coaching, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're serving them and supporting them through that funnel. But yeah, free content with a strategy is
Mm.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's such a cool time we live in where
Yeah.
that's what's possible.
Yeah,
You
I, I,
know?
I love it. Yeah.
I know, it's so cool. So what's shifted for you? Like what's going on in your life that's exciting right now and that you're really passionate about?
I think that I've shifted recently to just addressing branding to addressing rebranding. That's where my skill set has really developed over the past year. And I'm really excited to help women, transform their digital businesses, their online businesses, their brick and mortar, everything, to make sure that we're hitting on the strategies that really are going to transform and cause a lot of growth, especially monetarily,
Mhm.
with them and their businesses. So rebranding is really, really, really hot right now for me. Um, I actually created a course around rebranding. It's called the Spark Method, which I talked about at the
Mm.
Together experience. And what I've done with that is I've put my brain on paper and in video, and giving it to the world, because so many people have asked me, they may not have the budget to work
Mhm.
one-on-one with me, but still want to have the knowledge and the know-how to move forward and
Mhm.
kind of tackle it on a DIY basis. And so I've put that out there. And I'll be
Very
doing the
cool.
Spark Method 2.0 coming up soon, because once you fix one thing and you put a thing out, as you probably know, you're just like, oh my goodness, I could add so much more to this. Like,
Yeah.
this is what people really need to know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's never ending.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
that's amazing. Cool. Well, I'd love to link that up in the show notes because I know that there are people at all different levels. Um, and that's really, really cool that you can serve someone and show them how to do some of this stuff themselves.
Sure,
Because,
absolutely. And oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
no,
Sorry
go
about
ahead.
that. I wanted to offer like a coupon for your listeners, because the offer right now is $298, I think it is, but I wanted to offer like $200 off, just for your podcast listeners.
290, wait, 298?
No, it's
No,
498, so I'll be
oh,
offering
498. Oh,
$200.
yeah, yeah. Okay, amazing.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I will put that in the show notes for sure. That's awesome. I just really love what you're doing. And I mean, I'm sure you guys can feel it, but just you have such a fire around what you're doing and what you believe in. Really, your passion shows. And I'm
oh,
sure that
thank you.
everybody, all your clients feel that. And it's such an amazing quality. So I love that
Yeah,
about
thank you
you.
so much. I appreciate that.
Yes. Do you have any other words of wisdom or anything that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I just think that, wherever you are in your business, um, keep going. Have a marathon mindset instead of a sprint. Um, it's something amazing to want to, and crazy, to want to own and operate a business on your own. But if you've had the tenacity to get this far, keep on going, no matter what kind of months you're having monetarily, what kind of day you're having. It all we have the peaks, and they will deal with themselves. Learn to get through and walk through the valleys, because life is not filled with peaks. And our journey, again, is one of a marathon, and I just encourage everyone to just keep going.
I love that. I love the marathon mindset because it is so easy, especially online, to be like, I'm just going to become a millionaire. And like,
Absolutely.
it's going to be so easy. And it's like, well, I mean, you can have ease, but it's going to be a steady, steady, steady
Absolutely.
walk at least, if not a jog.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I love that. Oh, well, thank you so much. And definitely, I think everybody will benefit from all of this info. You guys check out Tiffany. You're on Instagram, I assume,
Yes, of course, at the EmmaRose Agency.
at the EmmaRose Agency. Okay, cool. Well, we'll link that up as well. And I just appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Intuitive Empire podcast.